What's up, Capstone family? This is Ed Drummond coming at you on this 6th day of May 2022. I hope you're having an amazing one out there. Wild week, interesting week. All kinds of things happening this week. I hope that my video from last week didn't scare you too much. Not too much to be worried about for most of us, but at the end of the day, again, with interest rates rising again this week by a half a point by the Fed, it definitely changes things. And honestly, like the trajectory is one that we can expect at this point. Supply and demand really hasn't changed too much. We are seeing a more supply, like a pretty heavy amount of supply that's hit the market here in the last month over last month. We generally see an uptick in supply like this, which is good. It's going to lead to something else. Let's see what happens. But right now, things are still very, very promising on the sales front because there's just such a ridiculously short amount of supply compared to what we really would need. When we're talking about supply and demand, at this point, we could have 5 times this amount of supply and still barely touch a balanced market. So there's a long way to go. But hey, without ado, let's kind of talk about what we've been seeing. This week, I had an opportunity to sit on a call with the creators of some of those charts that I send out to y'all, the Cromford reports. Her name is Tina Tambor. She's amazing. She has a lot of really, really awesome insight as to what's happening with the market, analyzes the data, and then spits it out in a way that people like myself can interpret it and can make more sense of it. One of the things that I took a couple of things away, big pieces from the call, and one of them really talked through the difference in this market, what we're seeing now, and this shift versus what we saw when the market collapsed during the Great Recession. And the Great Recession was so different just from a fundamental side of things in that, there was so much supply and so little demand back then compared to now. Now there's just so little supply and still, there's a consistent amount of demand right now, even with interest rates the way that they are. But demand, like the supply is just so limited compared to where we are that looking at all of the different variables that made the Great Recession what it was, let's say 100% financing was available, short-term loans, interest-only payments, adjustable rates, unstable buyers, like all these different things. There were a lot of situations where you had such a flippant mentality, people flipping properties, that they never intended to occupy or rent the property out. It was just a play on appreciation. These are all things that we saw back then, right? I wasn't fully immersed in real estate back then. I talk about it a lot that, I'd made my first investment property purchase back then. And, I jumped in just like everybody else. I made the mistakes just like we all did. Looking at what we have now, the similarities, even from the Fed rate of changing rates, of trying to adjust for inflation right now, arguably like it's affecting the stock market, it's affecting all of these different things. At the end of the day, there's still a lot of jobs. There's still a lot of employers that are looking for people. People are making money. We just have a shortage of housing. And the shortage of housing is, due to 10 years of underbuilding. And now it's catching up with us in a really, really negative way. Rental rates are starting to peter out. And we've been talking about this for a few weeks and maybe a couple months that we've been seeing this. But what we're seeing now is a lot more homes being added to the MLS on the rental side. Now, again, the MLS, when people want to put their properties on the MLS, that's kind of like the last place you want to put your property. There are so many other ways that an owner investor would list their property first, do it on their own, try this, that, or the other to get the right tenant in the property. And when they can't, then they resort to using a service like ours if they're managing it themselves. For us, it's the same thing. I've got much better avenues for finding that tenant on my own before going to the MLS and ultimately paying an additional fee on there for the co-broke. And really, it opens up a different can of worms when you go on the MLS. It's a different process. Knowing that, adding more of those rentals to the MLS tells us that, there's the demand is getting a little bit less than we've had in the past. When we ran the numbers for applications that we've had on our properties, all things else being the same, we've had about a 20% reduction in showings on our properties and new applications since the beginning of the year. We had a strong January, strong February. The last 2 months have shown a little bit of a blip. It's taken a little bit of a downturn as to the type of people, how many applications we're taking on our properties and how many people are out there looking. What does that say? I would say that there's more vacancy out there right now. There are more people that are probably not looking. One of the things that Tina brought up in her messaging is that there is more of this group where there's this household formations, right? So people are opting to live together because it's so expensive. You all see this on the West Coast all the time, where now you've got two different groups that are coming together because it's so unaffordable that in order to be able to rent a property, they have to live together. We're starting to see that more and more out here. So, I don't see rental rates plummeting anytime soon. They needed to stabilize. This is actually, in my opinion, this is good for where we're at. With all these super investors coming in and buying all these doors, this might slow them down a little bit, which is really pricing first-time home buyers and new home buyers out of the market because they're picking up all of the cheaper stuff, the sub $500,000 stuff. And really, this is where now the market can start to correct. From every indication that people are telling me or that I'm reading or looking at, looks like we can anticipate that, there should be a little bit of a fluctuation in it. Is that going to affect our sales prices? Not really. We did have a ridiculously high, season this last year where the market grew at like 30%. That's super uncommon. None of the factors, none of the models that we put together come anywhere close to considering 30% as an appreciation. The one that we use is like 4.4% because it was 20 years average. I think the 20-year average right now in Arizona, if you've had property out here for the last 20 years, you've seen like a 10% increase year over year in price on average, which is stupid. I mean, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, what a great model, what a great place to have real estate. But I think over time, this is the market right now where you're looking at your goals and we're saying, all right, do we go this way? Do we go this way? What's best for us right now? Should we hold it and ride this thing out? Can I last another 10 years? If there was a downturn, am I able to last that out and not care about that top line number? Because at the end of the day, the only reason why the value of a property should really affect you is, of course, if you want to pull money out of the property or if you're going to sell it, right? Because at the end of the day, it's more of a vanity metric if you're not selling. It doesn't matter. You want the cash flow. You want the benefits from holding on to that asset. So if your exit looks like it's going to be in the next 10 years, now may be a good time to really evaluate your option for selling. If not, hold it. I firmly believe in this market out here. The water issue isn't as big of an issue yet as people are saying or thinking it might be, which is also better news than we'd heard, in the last couple of years. And at the end of the day, it's your model, right? Your plan, your goal. Hey, I would love to work with you either way, right? I'm going to do my best to earn your business, whether we're selling your property, whether we're renting your property. But the options come down to having the hard conversations and figuring out, hey, what makes the most sense for you? I think when you get into a model like this, if you start getting feedback from your accountant, if you start getting feedback from your wealth advisor, if you start getting feedback from people that are chirping, that are saying, hey, try this, try this, try this, feel free to drop us a line. I'll give you feedback on what I'm seeing people doing, and with the feedback that I'm getting, things that we're exploring, things that we're employing, lots of things. And honestly, it makes it more like, I like to consider us like real estate consultants in every true sense of the word. But hey, I'm going to try to get your business any way I can. Doesn't matter what you end up doing. We can offer solutions, or I can refer you to somebody that can. So it's like, let me know if you are running into those challenges. You want somebody to pick apart a plan for you, or just give it a second look. Like, I'd be more than happy to. I think right now is the time where we got to band together and really start asking those hard questions, but making sure that the feedback that you're getting isn't one-sided, isn't, this person wants you to do this over here, so you're getting that feedback and it's pushing you to sell, or it's pushing you to hold, or it's pushing you to reinvest or pull money out, or maybe do a 1031 exchange. And the person that's encouraging you to do a 1031 exchange has no idea the complexities of finding you a like-kind property in this market. Like, it's a different place. So if you'd like that type of conversation, feel free to reach out to us and let's schedule a time. That's where I feel like we're offering the most value to people right now, because oftentimes when they come to us, when our clients, our existing clients do, they've got an idea of what's really happening and what is happening in the market based on maybe the media, or based on what family or friends or people that they're connected with are doing. And that's where we can really just give you the real numbers. Like, what are we seeing? What's happening? We're a mid-sized property management company now. We've got good traction for numbers and trends and that type of thing, as well as what we see in the market with the regular trends. I hope this information helps. I am still very optimistic about this market. Buyers are having an amazingly challenging time, but it is getting easier. But again, we are still seeing buyers having to go over asking price to get the houses done. It is starting to slow down. We're starting to see it a little bit, but again, slowing down from a pace that we've never seen before doesn't necessarily mean that the market is slow. It just means that we couldn't sustain that rate forever. Hope this helps. Have an amazing weekend. Happy Mother's Day to your moms out there, all you moms. Mom, love you. Have a wonderful, happy Mother's Day.